Hello, everybody. Happy New Year. First podcast of 2019. Happy New Year to all our listeners, Lazio fans and not. And Happy New Year to you, Alistair McKenzie. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks. Yeah, Happy New Year to you too. It feels a bit weird to still be saying that, I suppose, 2 weeks later. But we're only just back talking about Lazio. We've only just had our first game again, so it's quite nice to be looking forward to the football returning. It feels like a long time, I suppose, the winter break, but it's not been that long at all, really, only a couple of weeks.
Yeah, we're going to talk even about this winter break because, in the past made sense. You have the break before Christmas and then you start back afterwards. But now that you're playing the Boxing Day and the day before New Year, do you really need a break like that afterwards? I don't know, Alistair. It doesn't make any sense. Anyway, we have plenty of things to talk about. We had a break. Lazio came back. Winter transfer market is open. So I hope you have a cozy seat. You're relaxed because this is going to be a long podcast, I presume, Alistair McKenzie. Shall we start from the match? Lazio played the first match of the season of 2019. Coppa Italia match, Lazio Novara. A nice victory. But Alistair, what I was surprised is seeing the starting 11 Inzaghi picked. We were talking all year long pretty much about Novara. It's the perfect match to give a chance to the players who didn't play that much this season to start finally a match, and it didn't happen. I was surprised.
Yeah, I suppose, there's two different ways you can look at this, and the one thing, like you say, that we talked about before was this being an obvious opportunity to give opportunities to fringe players or younger players who aren't otherwise getting much game time. But on the flip side, what Inzaghi appears to have done is looked at it as the perfect opportunity to basically warm up his team for what's coming up, because don't forget the first two games we've got back in Serie A are Napoli away and Juventus at home over the next couple of weekends. So those being such big, significant challenges coming up, I think that he just wanted to keep the kind of core of his first team in place, give them a competitive match to get them sharp again after 2 weeks off where a lot of them have been away on holiday and so on, and basically get everything prepared for those matches coming up. So in my opinion, I don't think it's the worst idea in the world. I would have liked to see him, introduce Pedro Neto, for example, a bit earlier than he did. Going in at halftime 4-0 up gave him the chance to then at least give 45 minutes to some of those fringe players. But I don't think it was a bad idea, because people might be a bit rusty after their holidays, and Novara was a pretty easy opponent to test them against.
Yes, but the match was over after 35 minutes. You could rotate there. In the second half, you don't believe that Novara is going to score 4 goals in just 45 minutes. They score on a penalty. It was pretty much the only chance they had. So, maybe change players at the beginning of the second half. Or start some of the... at the end, the only two players that didn't play that much that started were... Bastos and Lukaku, and Bastos played because Wallace was injured. So I don't agree that much with Simone Inzaghi.
Yeah, but I suppose at least you can see where he's coming from, and it allows him to, for example, Lucas Leiva in a lot of the predicted lineups for this game wasn't in it, and a lot of the newspapers and so on expected Milan Badel to be given an opportunity from the start. But don't forget, Lucas Leiva is still fairly fresh back from his injury, and he obviously thought that he could do with the game time. And on top of that, he has tinkered with the formation recently as well to have this kind of more attack-minded team with two at least playmakers on the pitch to support the striker, and that's yielded better results in the games before the break. But it's still quite early days in that change of formation, so it was another chance for him to have Milinkovic, Savic, Immobile and Alberto all on the pitch at the same time together, and give them another 90 minutes to let that relationship flourish, I suppose, which it did because they all scored. But yeah, I mean, I suppose the things that disappointed me more wasn't the team he picked from the start, but perhaps that he didn't make changes sooner, like you say, because Berisha, he may as well have taken on Berisha and Dermisi at half-time and given Neto more than 15 minutes. And and Silvio Prato, I don't think there would have been any harm in giving him a game either, but there you go.
Yeah, I was thinking about Strakosha as well. You know how much I rate him, and to be honest, he made a save at the beginning that was very good and didn't allow Novara to go ahead. But even if Novara would have scored there, I still believe Lazio would have won. And you can give Proto a start, or even Guerrieri, I thought, could have a chance yesterday. And I don't think the result would have changed. And I don't think Strakosha now it's less rusty or it's fit for the next match because of this. I mean, they're training. They had a friendly match today against Primavera. You know, they can still play. I don't know. I'm a little bit surprised by this decision of Simone Inzaghi. And the other thing, Alistair, is, and you said it, is Pedro Neto. I think we have to talk a little bit more about this player because give him only 15 minutes. It's not really that much. And in 15 minutes, we saw him doing two amazing things that make you think, you know, really, this guy has real talent. Why are we seeing him so little?
Yeah, I mean, for me, that was the biggest, most interesting thing to come from this game yesterday was Pedro Neto finally getting some game time because, you know, he's a guy that we've spoken about a lot on this podcast. If you consider that he's not played a single game for Lazio in 18 months and we've still spent that much time talking about him, I suppose a lot of that's because of the cost it took to bring him over and the hype around him as a young talent as well. But I found it really interesting yesterday in the stadium that the biggest noise of the day, pretty much, apart from perhaps the first goal, was when he got the ball on the right wing and beat his man. And he's a very direct player by the looks of things, got his head down and just started sprinting down the wing and beat his defender. And everybody was kind of roaring and off their feet all of a sudden, and the atmosphere changed. So it's clearly not just us who are excited about finally getting to see this guy. And I thought that when he came on with 15 minutes to go, it was asking a lot to actually see anything from him, really, in a game that was already over. But I thought that actually in the time he had on the pitch, he did well to make an impact. And, you know, he has to do that. You know, knowing how cautious Inzaghi is about tinkering with his team or bringing in new people if he doesn't need to, Neto had to make an impact yesterday to actually put himself in a position where he can request more opportunities. But the questions I was left with two questions after the game, and I put this out on Twitter, so you can have a go at answering one of them. But what I was left thinking after the game was, number one, if Inzaghi's only going to give him 15 minutes in this game, when is he going to get another chance this season? And number two, where does he play in this team? Because they shifted him out to the right wing, changed the formation to a 4-3-3 while he was on, but Inzaghi's not showing signs of doing that regularly. And in the post-match press conference, talked about him not getting much time because he has the likes of Immobile in front of him, so he clearly sees him more as a striker. So the other question, I suppose, is what position does he play in this team?
Can I answer?
Please.
Okay, I'll do. The biggest problem I feel is that, as we saw yesterday, he's a winger. He said after the match that he preferred to play on the right side, and you can see why. He's the typical talented winger that has not only ball skills, but is very fast, and it's difficult to stop when he decides to run with the ball. And the problem is, how many times did Lazio play with a 4-3-3 this season? Never. And it doesn't fit in a 3-5-2 because he cannot play in the position of Marusic because it's too far from the goal, and I don't think, especially at this age, he has the experience to defend in Serie A at that level. So that's probably the biggest reason why he didn't play that much, because until Inzaghi decide to change tactics, which I think both are don't see it happening. I don't know how much chances does he have to play. Probably he can play like Caicedo yesterday near Ciro Immobile in a 3-5-2, but I think Lazio there has so many options that even though Pedro Neto, you can see, is really a talented guy, I think it takes a lot to say, okay, Correa doesn't start, I put Pedro Neto, because he has Correa, he has Caicedo, he has Luis Alberto that can play there, eventually even Milinkovic-Savic. So that's the biggest question. Pedro Neto needs to play in a winger position, so probably in a 4-3-3 is the best solution for him. And I see it difficult to happen. But if you have a talent like that, then maybe you have to think, and you can even play with Correa on one side and Pedro Neto on the other.
Yeah, I think that's basically the conclusion I got to as well, is that for him to get more time, he has to benefit from a change in formation that uses wingers, or be brought on as a substitute, I suppose, to try and kind of offer something different. I think that could be an option going forward, as he does offer something completely different to the rest of the options on Lazio's bench. And if he is that directive player and he's quick and he can set up chances and you can put him out on the wing, he would be an interesting option, I suppose, to open up teams in difficult matches. So at the least, I would hope that we get to see him selected on the substitutes bench more often, because he's not even made it to the bench that regularly this season. So I suppose that's what I've come away from this game hoping for, is that we at least get to see him off the bench a few more times this season. But in all honesty, I'm not expecting this to be suddenly the launching of his Lazio career. But it was nice to finally get to see him, and he was obviously delighted with it as well. I mean, I don't know if you follow him on Instagram or any of those things, but he was seemingly pretty over the moon at finally getting his chance, and everybody kind of piling in, praising him and saying well done to him for finally making his debut. So, good to get a sight of him, and hopefully we'll get another one at some point.
Yes, and one thing important is you can see that he's a speedy attacker, someone that can come in the last 20 minutes, maybe when the defenders are tired, and it's going to be difficult to mark him because he's so fast, and maybe the defenders are tired and cannot catch him. So I hope this performance changes things for him, because if before we had the doubt that he wasn't talented, he wasn't able to play at this level. Well, yesterday he showed that he really got skills, and people can argue, well, Novara is not playing in Serie A, but those type of things is something that it doesn't change if you're playing against Novara or West Ham, or Juventus. You're still fast, you have a great ball control, and that can make a difference in every match. So let's hope that this change, even because if you take off Correa, Lazio doesn't have any other options of players similar to Pedro Neto.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and that's been one of the reasons, I suppose, when people have suggested a move to a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1 this season, which a lot of our listeners anyway have appeared to be in favour of. That is something to bear in mind, that we don't have really many natural wingers. I mean, you could move Senad Lulic up into that position. He's played there before, but otherwise you're talking about, other than Correa, playing people out of position a lot of the time. So it's not. I suppose he does at least offer a new option there. But it was interesting. I read one of the reports from the training session today, which the team that played yesterday that didn't seem to really be involved in, but the substitutes were, and Neto was being played as the kind of number 9 with Velan Berisha behind him in a game against the under-19 team, I think it was. So yeah, I mean, it is interesting that the signals are that Inzaghi looks to him as being an option as a striker. And I suppose the question though is that if Alessandro Rossi, he looks like he's going to be joining Cristiano Lombardi at Venezia on loan for the rest of the season. And given how hard he's found it to get a game, I can't imagine that even if Neto is now considered the third choice striker in the team, he's, from what we've seen already this season, he's still going to find it very hard to find any matches. But that kind of brings up another thing I wanted to talk to you about today, which is Felipe Caicedo, because he had, another game, another chance yesterday, and again he was disappointing, and again he's come in for some criticism. And in that front four, I suppose, that Lazio had yesterday, Alberto, Milinkovic-Savic, Caicedo, Immobile, they're all pushing very high up the pitch for a lot of that game, and he was the only one who didn't come away with a goal. So I don't know, has this game changed anything for you in the way that you think about Caicedo at all? I mean, for me, it's really a continuation of what we already knew, which is that he's simply not a goal scorer, but people seem to be very upset with him.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about Caicedo today because yesterday, again, he had so many chances. And yes, we can talk about Novara's goalkeeper, who has been really good yesterday, but still, you have to score. And I don't know if you noticed, but I think after the third goal, Luis Alberto, Milinkovic-Savic, Immobile, they were all trying to make Caicedo score. They were passing him the ball continuously near the box or inside the box, and still he was missing. He was kicking wide or in front of the goalkeeper. Even the great thing that Pedro Neto did, Caicedo shoot. You can say the goalkeeper made it a nice save, but he was on the right side of the post, and he had all the left side empty. If he kicks it there, it's goal, no chance for the goalkeeper. Instead, he kicked it right in front of the goalkeeper, who was very fast, reactive to deflect the ball. But I mean, from a striker like that, you need to see him scoring, and he didn't. And we said it days and days. It's not the first time. He's not a scorer. He can be an assist man. But now with Luis Alberto, Milinkovic-Savic back, Correa playing like that, I really don't see him having that many chance to play now going forward. So with Rossi that is signing to Venezia, I really feel that Lazio is in big need of a striker, but there are no rumors related to that, so I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I got asked about this the other day about Lazio being too dependent on Immobile, which is, that's not a new question. We've heard that before, but I immediately said yes, because there's absolutely no doubt about it now. I mean, last season there was an argument that we weren't quite so much, because a lot of goals were coming from midfield, from Alberto and Milinkovic-Savic particularly, and even a lot of the defenders were scoring goals. But this season, I think it's about 18 goals fewer we've scored at this stage of the season than last. And so Immobile is absolutely essential to that. And I am still absolutely terrified at the prospect of what this team would suddenly look like without him. If there was, God forbid, some injury to him, then everything changes in this team. And surely Latito and Tari are able to see that. I mean, they're good operators in the transfer market, and it's probably a question of whether they're willing to risk it or not. Because if something happens to Immobile, we know by now, we're 18 months in, we know for sure by now that Caicedo can't lead that line as a number 9. He can play a role as a squad player, like you say, as a kind of link-up man to play maybe alongside him, but he's not going to be a number 9. He's not going to score the goals we need. So, if Rossi's leaving the club, we're really, really in trouble if anything would happen to Immobile. And in that regard, yeah, it is a bit worrying. I would love to see a new player coming on the right side of midfield, which seems to be the priority. But at the same time, it does feel a bit like the Vice Immobile question is being forgotten when it really shouldn't be.
No, especially if, like, it looks like Rossi's leaving. So we said that Rossi would have been the best option for us. But now, if he's leaving, then we really left with Oli Caicedo, and we already remember what happened last year. Correa can be an option, but that's more a desperate solution, I would say. It's not your best chance. Or Pedro Neto, I don't see him playing there, but who knows? But again, when you're in desperate need, that's desperate solution. I think Lazio really need a Vice Immobile now.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think it's really, really important. But I mean, you never know. It's the one thing we know as well is that Lazio are pretty secretive about their operations in the transfer market, and a lot of the time you do get stories and links to various players that are completely untrue. And I suppose we saw that already this month with the club coming out with a statement saying basically all the stories about Bobby Akindaye, I think I've got his name wrong, but you know who I mean, from Liverpool, and basically saying that there were no talks being made, and there was no truth in it. So yeah, it's a bit of a strange one. I think that it's still possible they are in the market for a striker, but we'll have to wait until the final day of the month to find out.
Yes, I agree. And one thing I wanted to talk about is, if you're looking, Fiorentina sign a new player, Muriel. Milan has Paqueta that arrived. I'm concerned that there's the risk that of the team fighting for the Champions League spot, Lazio will be the only team not signing a player. And again, it would finish January with all the teams that have improved, and Lazio be the only one that's fighting for a Champions League spot who didn't buy any player. And that's really concerning me, because the rumors we know is that Lazio is in talk with Zappacosta. We have to see if that happened, but in the meantime, all the other teams have a better team already, while Lazio is sending youngsters away and not doing much in buying players.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I wrote an article recently about why I think Zappacosta would be a great signing, and I think he's an achievable one. He's a realistic one, as well as being someone who would really help this team. So I think if we can bring him in as a January deal, that would be a pretty successful move, because what Inzaghi really wants at this stage to reinforce that side is someone who can not only play in Marisic's role on the right side of the 3-5-2, but also play in a back four as well, which Zappacosta can. He's done both between Torino and Chelsea. He's got experience at the top level in England and Italy in both big European competitions. He's an Italy international, but at the same time, he's still only 26, so there's still plenty of room for improvement from him. And given how few opportunities he's been given by Sarri at Chelsea, I mean, it does seem like the right time to make a move, and we'll have to wait and see. I mean, again, from what the reports are saying, it seems like there's a difference in opinion about how a deal would be structured. But the club, I think, do have a good relationship already with his agent, who's the same guy who works with Joaquin Correa and Milan Badel, as far as I remember. So hopefully that's at least a positive sign that it might go somewhere.
Yeah. The rumors are that Lazio has a deal with Zappacosta, who would be happy to go on loan to Lazio, and the agreement with the salary, etc. Still, Chelsea is not convinced to accept the offer that it's loan till June, and then the rights to Lazio to buy out the player if things goes well. So that's the biggest question mark. Tare said, I don't know how many times, that first Lazio have to sell players that are not playing. We already know that Lombardi and Rossi are going to Venezia. Rossi have been, I think, in the last 3 months linked to Pescara, and then what happens that Venezia come in and gets Rossi. They're both going on loan to Venezia. I hope they play. I mean, Lombardi for me, had a very good season last year. Obviously, you play for a very bad team in Serie A who didn't have a chance to say last year, but I think he improved, and especially he showed that he can play in the 3-5-2. So I was hoping that he could get some space with Inzaghi this season, but this didn't happen. So it's good to see him playing somewhere else. Even Rossi to start, it would be interesting. Obviously, we're crossing finger to hope that they really have a chance to play. But we know that Perea have resigned the contract with Lazio, so Perea is not another player in the list of Lazio. I don't know if Lazio will be able to find a solution for Ravel Morrison and the others. We're gonna see, but it would be good to get these players a position to team to play. But let's not forget that, as we're saying, Lazio need even to buy some players because this team is far from perfect.
Yeah, I mean, Tari said from day one that this is going to be more of a selling market than a buying market, and in a certain way, that's encouraging to hear, because there has been far too much deadwood in this squad for far too long. And when you've got players like Perea and Morrison, you mentioned, who are still on the wage bill despite having done absolutely nothing for the club in years, then it's a complete waste of money. So it was good that Perea's finally released. I think that's good for him and for the club. I think it would be sensible to do something similar with Morrison. I mean, there's absolutely no way back for him at this point. It doesn't seem like there's any chance he's going to make an impact at the club. And then you've got the likes of Dusan Basta. His time appears to be up. Martin Caceres has been talked about being very close to Parma, basically being a done deal, but it's still not a done deal, and so we're waiting on that happening. Even Patrick and Wallace have been talked about leaving the club, and it's all well and good talking about trimming the fat and getting rid of a few players in the team, but as you say, we're still a team that are fighting in 3 competitions this season. So if you are going to be cutting off players, it's one thing getting rid of the likes of Perea and Morrison, who aren't even registered in the squad, but it would be another thing entirely to get rid of Caceres, Basta, Patrick, these kind of guys, and not replace them, because they have actually been used quite regularly.
Yes, and to be honest with you and with our listener, I don't believe all these rumors. Now the last one is that Badel asked to leave. Honestly, I don't believe it. Inzaghi said it yesterday in the press conference. Nobody asked to leave Lazio. I don't think, even because Badel played a lot when he had the chances. He has been often injured. So I don't believe Badel wants to leave. I'm not sure it's true that Lazio is trying to sell Patrick, because just to be realistic, if we sell Patrick with Basta pretty much out, who's going to play there? You, Alistair? I mean, Lazio doesn't have that many options on that side, and if you give up even Patrick, then the situation is going to be terrible. So I don't believe these rumors. As said, yes, Lazio have to send on loan players that are not in the Inzaghi's plan. Talking about Morrison, the problem there is I don't think the player wants to terminate his contract with Lazio. This will mean that he will not receive the salary from now till the end of the season, like Perea did. Perea preferred to not get the money from Lazio, but find a team that is willing to give him a chance. There are a lot of players, trust me, a lot of players that prefer to stay without playing for 1 year, but getting a lot of money from a club who simply made the wrong decision. So I don't see it happening. And there have been rumors on Wallace. Again, I don't believe Lazio is going to sell Wallace now. Probably this summer could be an option, even though yesterday he didn't play because he was injured, not because Inzaghi lost his faith on him. And about Caceres, I think the problem there is still money. The offer, the salary Parma is offering is not the level Caceres wanted, unfortunately.
Yeah, and then the other one, I suppose, is Alessandro Murgia as well. He's another one who's been talked about being sent out on loan. And yeah, I mean, I share your concerns, I suppose, about the loan system, because you you can never really guarantee that your players are going to be given the games that they need, and there's no point sending out a player like Murja on loan if he's not going to play, because otherwise we would need him as a backup and as an option here. The same goes for Rossi, of course. So I think Murja is a talented player, and there shouldn't be a lack of options, a lack of interest in him. But I just hope he can make an impact if he does go out, because I think he's a player who could have a really bright future, but at the moment it's just simply just too much competition ahead of him.
And again, yesterday would have been a perfect game to play Berisha from the start, maybe even Murja or Cataldi, give them a chance to play a little bit.
Cataldi was suspended, actually.
Okay, sorry, I forgot about that. But Murja, you can give him a chance. So at this point, I hope he goes on loan. The problem is, let's not forget that, as you were saying, Lazio is still in 3 competitions, so you're gonna need players. Even if Cáceres leave, you probably need to find a replacement, because you never know what's gonna happen. So it looks like Hurd is available. Would you get him back?
No, I think that he's a decent player and so on, but I think the reason he left was partly because of the money that was on offer, but also partly because he didn't fit in as a player that Inzaghi really wanted in his system. So I don't really see the point of going backwards, I suppose. But yeah, I don't know. There's a bit too much kind of rampant speculation in this market for my liking at the moment, but it's always like this every time, I suppose, isn't it? I shouldn't be that surprised about it.
I don't know. I thought Hurd played well with Lazio, and Inzaghi was sad when he decided to leave. Let's not forget, Hurd decided to leave because he wasn't a starter and he wanted to play more, and so that's why he left. And it's fine. It's funny because he didn't play that much at Southampton. He struggled at the beginning, then he became a starter, and now with a change of manager, he's out again. And the other thing, Alistair, is Gabbiadini just signed with Sampdoria. Gabbiadini would have been the perfect vice immobile. If he goes to Atalanta, where the competition there is high, you have a lot of striker there, well, maybe if Lazio wouldn't make an offer, he would be more interesting in play with Lazio, where you have even the Europe League, so probably more chance to start.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, now you've got a team like Sampdoria who are, led by a really talented coach, and Marco Giampaolo. I really rate him. Think he's doing a great job there, and they've got a strike force that has Quagliarella, who just doesn't stop. Defrel, who at the started the season absolutely brilliantly. Caprari, who's another talented player, and now Gabbiadini as well. I mean, that's a pretty dangerous selection of options they've got, and obviously behind that the likes of Gaston Ramirez as well. So that if you think of a team like Sampdoria being able to put together an attacking lineup like that, and Lazio being left with Immobile and Caicedo as the only backup option, I mean, it is more than a little bit worrying. And Gabbiadini is a player who's been linked with Lazio on and off for quite a long time, pretty much ever since he left Italy, I think. And you never really know how seriously to take these things, but clearly this would have been an opportunity. So I don't think they've had to spend too much. As far as I remember, it's about 13 million euros the deal for when it comes through. So it seems like a really good piece of business for them.
Yes, I think Gabbiadini was linked with Lazio even when he was at Napoli and didn't have that many chances to play with Sarri. So again, it's not a player that changed the team. I don't think so, but give you that option, that chance. If Immobile doesn't play for a couple of weeks, you're fine because you have Gabbiadini that has experience. He's an international player, so you can live with an injury of Ciro Immobile, and eventually in desperate needs you can play them together. Maybe you're losing and it's 10 minutes till the end, you put in Gabbiadini. So I don't know, probably Tare is not interested in the player, but I mean everybody noticed that Lazio's needing someone in front to replace Ciro Immobile eventually.
Or, I mean, even at least put pressure on him, because the thing is, up until yesterday, he got 2 goals yesterday, but up until then, he'd gone a month without scoring. And, you know, I don't think you'll find anyone who's really going to criticise Immobile among the Lazio fans. It'll take a lot longer goal drought than that before anybody gets on his back. But at the same time, I think he has such utter security in his position that he could, I don't think he is the kind of player who would, but he could get a bit, a bit too comfortable in his role. And I think it's always healthy in any position, in any team really, to have guys who are pushing each other and putting pressure on each other to be at their best. And at the moment, there's just no one for Immobile to worry about. He can't look around the training ground and think that he's in any danger of being dropped from the team anytime soon. And I don't think that he would all of a sudden if we brought in Gabbiadini, but it would suddenly bring in a different class of player, a different threat. And I think that would be healthy competition, really, for the team.
Yeah, I agree with you when you're saying that Immobile is not the type of player that relax because there's no competition there. He's the type of striker who wants to score all the matches, even in the friendly ones. But it wouldn't make a ton of sense to get a player like Gabbiadini. And again, if Sampdoria is able to sign him, then it means that the fee was achievable even for Lazio. And so this is a wasted chance. Or, as I said before, Tare doesn't rate Gabbiadini that high, and so they don't want to buy him.
Yeah, we did. I've just been looking at some of our questions, and we did get one about the transfer market from Arvid, saying if there's any information about off-field problems regarding Cáceres at Lazio, because there have been reports that that's the reason he hasn't played much under Inzaghi. I don't know too much about that, to be honest. I mean, I think he's not played much because Inzaghi hasn't been that impressed with him more than anything else. In terms of behavioural off-field issues, I think his time at Lazio has been less eventful than it has been at other clubs, where he's been crashing sports cars and things like that. So I don't know, unless you know something I don't, Vittorio.
No, even before coming to Lazio, he played for Verona, and as well there he has been very quiet, and that was one of the biggest question mark everybody had on Cáceres, right? He has been terrible outside the pitch, even at Torino with Juventus, that is a very good club in that sense of making players behave the correct way, but it didn't work with Cáceres, we can say. So, but here in Rome, no, I think simply that every time Cáceres had a chance, he never played at the level everybody expected. So that's why Inzaghi is not giving him that many chances or playing him that much. Now we have to see if he finds a deal with Parma.
Yeah, I think actually, I think that's been a real disappointment, because this time last year we were quite excited, quite encouraged about him coming in. It seemed to be a really sensible January move, and actually, to be honest, it looked like one of these moves that would end up being a real kind of elitare special, one of these cheap moves that could end up to be quite inspired, because he can cover so many positions and of his experience and so on. But he's just never really convinced in any of these roles. And I think it's a bit of a shame how that one's worked out. But, you can afford to mess up one transfer. I don't think it makes it a bad decision to sign him. I just think sometimes these things don't work out. And, it's not really happened for Cáceres at Lazio, unfortunately.
Yes, it's true that it's surprising, because usually Tare is very good in that. I think the luck is that Ramos came out surprisingly and took the place of Cáceres, because without Ramos surprising everybody, now Lazio would have a big hole there because of Cáceres' performance.
Well, I mean, Wallace is the one who's probably benefited the most from it, I'd say. I mean, Luis Felipe's development has been faster than we expected, and that's been great to see. But Wallace, I suppose, has gone from a player who, in the summer, appeared to have his time up at Lazio and could be leaving the club, and all of a sudden he's been playing more games than anyone else in that right centre back position. And I don't think we expected to see so much of Wallace this season. I don't think Wallace expected to see so much of Wallace this season. So, I think he's probably the one who's been the happiest about the whole thing.
Yeah, it was strange because last year he didn't play that much after the injury, but from August he starting matches surprisingly. I mean, we thought Ramos would have most time than Wallace. Instead, Inzaghi went the other way, surprising us, I think. I don't know. There's something in the training that we don't know that convinced Inzaghi to play Wallace.
Yeah. Just looking at some of the other questions we've got. Here's one. Ramiel Gende. According to Alistair, beating Novara at home is a confidence boost. How and why? We won't beat Napoli nor Juve despite whatever happened against Novara. This came on the back of me yesterday having the temerity to suggest that it was a confidence boost that Lazio won a game 4-1. What do you think?
As I said before, I was hoping to see more players that didn't play that much starting this match. But I understand what you're saying, and I thought that this is really the case. Thinking about Ciro Immobile, who didn't finish the season very well. He didn't score four matches, something like that. And yesterday he scored twice. He missed the penalty, but he was fast enough to recover and score. So I think that was really important for him. A striker like him need the confidence, and scoring 2 goals yesterday was important. Same thing for Milinkovic-Savic, who I thought in the last 3-4 matches really step up. Yesterday I was surprised to see him taking the free kick. I thought that was Luis Alberto's position, but after he scored like that, what you're gonna say? So it was good to see those type of players playing that well. And as I said at the beginning of the podcast, the match was over after 35 minutes. So that's I believe give confidence to the team to see, hey, even if we are not top form, etc., we can win an easy match like that.
Yeah. I mean, my question is more, how can this not be a confidence boost? I mean, I'm not saying for a minute that beating Novara means that suddenly there's an expectation that Lazio are going to go and hammer Juventus and Napoli over the next couple of weeks. But to have a match, to ease your way back in after the winter break, after players have been away on holiday, taken some time off and come back to training and score 4 goals in the first half, to have another opportunity to experiment with a new formation, a new way of playing, and like you say, for players who have been out of form and out of confidence, important players like Milinkovic-Savic, Alberto and Immobile, all of them scoring goals again, game time being given to other players who otherwise wouldn't be given it, like Bastos, like Jordan Lukaku, Pedro Neto obviously getting his debut as well. Obviously, there's surely only positives. I'm amazed that there's an attempt to have a negative take on this, but there you go. Can't please some people.
Well, Rami always see the dark side of things, so he's the typical Lazio fan, I would say. Always negative. We have another question, this time from Facebook, from Per Nielsen. He's asking, is Milinkovic-Savic form the key to the Champions League? Great game from him today. Can he continue like this against better opponents? Alasdair?
Sorry, you cut out a bit there. Could you just say
sorry.
it again?
Per Nielsen is saying, is Milinkovic-Savic form the key to the Champions League? Great game from him today. Can he continue like this against better opponents?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's definitely been one of the real positives of the kind of Christmas New Year period, hasn't it? That Milinkovic-Savic has started scoring again, obviously 3 goals in his last 4 games, but he's also started just performing at the level that we expect of him again. And I think that, yeah, his form is certainly going to be a massive boost to helping Lazio get in the Champions League. I don't think it's going to come down entirely to the way he plays. I don't think he's going to be able to drag us there single-handedly, but I think that one of the things that Lazio have struggled from the most this season has been the dip in form from him and Alberto, who were such key players last season. And there's absolutely no doubt that if he returns to the level that is expected of him, and if Alberto does the same, that we're going to be in a much stronger position to actually take that next step and close in on a top 4 place. So, yeah, I think he's been, for me, it's been probably the most encouraging thing from this little winter period has been seeing him return to form.
As you said, I don't think he's going to be Milinkovic-Savic on his own, even though maybe he can have that talent, but maybe win one match, not a series of match all alone. But the secret, and we said it when Lazio lost again the big teams this season, in the big matches, your star players are fundamental. And the star players of Lazio are Milinkovic-Savic, Luis Alberto, Ciro Immobile. So if they play at their best, then yes, Lazio can reach the Champions League. I really believe it. It's not going to be only Milinkovic-Savic, it's going to be even Luis Alberto. But it was really good to see Luis Alberto playing well again. Even yesterday, obviously, against Novara wasn't that complicated, but Luis Alberto played well December. And same thing about Milinkovic-Savic. And I know there have been a lot of rumors, but guys, I don't believe Milinkovic-Savic is leaving in January. His agent said it as well, but there have still been other rumors about it. I don't think Milinkovic-Savic is leaving.
No chance.
And as we said, the biggest offer never arrived from AC Milan. It arrived from Real Madrid, as we all knew. It wasn't AC Milan. Don't trust the rumors that Lotito would have sold Milinkovic-Savic for what? 40 million euros and 3 years of come on. You know? Real Madrid offered 160 million cash immediately, not in 3 years, etc. That was the only great offer for Milinkovic-Savic.
If that's true, if that offer is true, 160 million euros up front for Milinkovic-Savic in the summer, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that Lotito was right to? I mean, obviously hindsight's a wonderful thing and the rest of it, but what do you think? I mean, that's more than anyone ever expected to be offered for him. 120 seemed to be the asking price.
But the problem there, Alistair, was the timing. It was end of the transfer market. I think Lazio wouldn't have the time to buy the replacement because it didn't have that much time to do it. So if it was July or maybe beginning of August, I think Lazio would have accepted. But end of August, you don't really have time to find a replacement, and then Lazio would have been in big trouble, and Lotito would have been under big pressure because you leave your best player go and you don't buy no one instead. So I think that was the main reason why he didn't leave.
Yeah, I'm happy he didn't. Don't get me wrong. It's just absolutely astonished to hear that that kind of sum of money would be turned down. I'm not totally convinced about it. You never know.
Well, I don't know if we can say it, but I have to say no to the same amount of money they offer for you. So, you know, Lotito wouldn't be the only one to say no to a big man offer like that, you know. So
for a rival podcast, I bet.
I won't say the name.
I won't say. Okay. Well, yeah, I don't know. I'm going to be submitting a transfer request if that's the case. To get back to the the football, there's another good. I found this was quite an interesting question actually. Again from Arvid, he said that can Jordan Lukaku be used as a possible left centre back? He has the physics for it, or is his positioning and vision too bad? Could you see that ever happening?
I thought he played there with Belgium. I'm pretty sure he did it in the Euros because I watched him there. So he improved defending in Italy, like I think every player did. Again, he's gonna be a very attacking left back defender. So I don't know he's gonna guarantee that coverage that Inzaghi liked to have, but it can be an option, yes. I mean, for me, the key of Lukaku is seeing him 100% fit. I think that's going to make the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be amazed. I'd be really, really surprised if we saw him being used in that position. To be honest, personally, I can't really see it myself. I think he perhaps, in my mind, just doesn't quite have the composure that you need to play in that role, where you need to make lots of level-headed decisions and a lot of kind of positioning and timing is involved in getting things right. And that's something Radu is so good at, and a lot of that is down to his experience, I suppose. And Lukaku's strengths for me lie in his explosiveness, his pace, and I suppose his ability to really kind of dominate the wing that he's on when he's at his best. And I don't think his strongest assets are the defensive ones, although I do agree with you. I think that side of his game has improved. I don't think that it's improved enough for him to be moved back there. I think that would be restricting his best qualities, which I think are still on that left-hand side of the midfield.
But probably on the other side, he will have more space to run. Sometimes, when he's playing in that position, he made the mistake of being already too close to the box before he received the ball. And so he doesn't have that much space to burn the opponent. So if he starts from midfield or a little bit far, he has more time, more space to run.
That's true. I mean, the other thing I suppose is that we again saw yesterday is that Inzaghi, it's pretty clear now that if there is a problem with Stefan Radu, his next option is to put Acerbi out there on the left and have Luis Felipe in the middle, which we again saw yesterday and have seen several other times this season as well. So I'd be surprised. I mean, I suppose the question wasn't so much whether we expect it to happen or if it could happen. I think it could happen, but in my mind, it wouldn't be the best way of using him, I suppose. But yeah, you never know. I mean, at the moment, we have so many options in that one position with him and Dermisi and Lulic all piling up that you may as well try and find inventive ways of using these players.
Yeah, it was good to see Dermisi yesterday. I thought he played well, and I think he can be a valuable player in the next month. Very useful for the club.
Yeah, and it was interesting actually. Recently gave an interview and he really opened up about how tough a year he's had with injury problems and the fact that he always wants to play games, and as a result he would try and rush back from injury too soon, and he was taking pain-killing injections to get through matches when he shouldn't have been, and basically pushing his body too hard. And it was quite interesting to hear about that. And obviously he's had injury problems since he's arrived at Lazio as well, and picked up an injury quite early on in the Europa League. So I felt like that interview was a bit of a kind of watershed moment for him, where he really opened up and kind of faced a problem that has clearly been on his mind for a while. And I hope that this year, 2019, can be his year, because he does seem like a talented player. We've not had an awful lot of opportunities because of those injury problems as well to see him this season. But it was good to see that he was able to kind of think about things positively now and kind of address the issues he's had in the past with the ways he's dealt with those injuries, I suppose.
Yeah, again, I think he's he could be a very important addition to the team. So I hope he solve. I think he had big back problems, and he found a specialist who helped him out. So that's gonna be really a good ad for the club if he's finally fit.
As another question I wanted to put forward, because Josef seems to have joined Twitter specifically to ask us this question, so I feel like I have to get it in before we finish. But he says, could you try and explain the situation with Neto and Jordao, as I've heard that they're limited because of financial reasons. I'm not entirely sure what Josef means by this in terms of being limited because of financial reasons. I don't know. Can you shed any light?
So I think what he's referring here is the fact that there has been some clouds, let's put it like this, on the renew of the contract of this player. We know that they're on loan 2 years with Lazio, so the loan will end this summer. And there was rumors that Lazio had to buy the players if they played an amount of minutes in Serie A. So that was why Inzaghi didn't want to play them, because otherwise Lazio had to play the fee. But it was completely wrong. The fact is that if Lazio doesn't get relegated, Lazio will have to buy the two players. So, touching wood, I think there is no chance that this happens. So, Lazio will be forced to buy those two players. Now, the thing is, we read a lot of rumors of people saying that Neto and Jordao should have gone on loan this winter. But as they are already on loan to Lazio, I don't think this is possible. So they will have to stay with Lazio and see if they can find some space to play.
Yeah. I think they've. Well, I mean, we've yet to really see Jordao or what he can offer, but now we've finally seen something from Neto. I suppose it'd be nice to be able to give those guys opportunities. I mean, they're old enough, you know. It's I saw I think it was Lazio page yesterday put out that Neto was the 5th youngest player, I think, to be given a debut.
Yes.
A Lazio debut, and actually, you know, he's older than Keita was when he was given games, as well as Tunkara was one, Minala was one. I've forgotten the others, I'm afraid. But yeah, so it's not like these guys are super young. I mean, Jordao is 20 now, so he's definitely not. I mean, don't get me wrong, that's not old, but we're not talking about guys who are kind of 16, 17-year-olds who are on the verge of breaking through. We're talking about guys who are at an age where it wouldn't be unusual whatsoever for them to be getting.
Neto is 18, huh?
Neto is, yeah, but
is 18. And the thing is, when I saw that stat yesterday, it was a little bit concerning because Delgado didn't do nothing. Minala, nothing. Tunkara, nothing. The only one is Keita, who was the oldest of these four. Now the oldest is Neto, as we said. So maybe rush them. It's not the right decision to make. So we're gonna see. Honestly, I think for Serie A, it's very young. For Premier League, no. 18 years old, you see a lot of players already starting. Even though they're not great, you see them giving a chance. So again, we said, I think the biggest problem for Neto is that he's a right winger. So I don't see Inzaghi changing scheme for him.
Rami Elgendi's also said, any news about Minala? Well, we mentioned him going out.
Yeah, that's disappointing because I was hoping this summer to see Minala playing a little bit for Lazio. Instead, he's out. And I don't know, I was thinking he was going to go back to Salernitana, where he played really well in the last 2 years. But nothing, and there's no rumors about him. So, I don't know.
I haven't heard anything about him at all.
I think the only rumors, apart of Lombardi and Rossi that go in Venezia, is Filippini, I think, that said no to a Romanian team that was willing to get him on loan. Apart from that, and Germoni, who just switched to Juventus Stabia, but he was already on loan on another team. So yeah, there's a big list of players that are still with us that didn't get that much interest at the moment.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not exactly been the most exciting transfer market so far, but at least it's been extended, so we do have until the end of the month.
Yeah, and honestly, I hope really Lazio makes something, sign some players, because we need it.
One final thought: Lucas Leiva, Player of the Year. You happy with that?
Well, I think talking about the year, I don't know if it was of last season. Probably Luis Alberto could have been the number one, but of the year, well, he's been injured a lot this season. So the past month. But yeah, I mean, he has been probably the best signing this summer. So don't see it that wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is worth saying. It's not a secret, but I think he did have some help from his Liverpool friends in winning that award. It was a fan won award, but yeah, I think he's a great guy. He's made a great impact at the club, and he's absolutely essential to the way the team runs. And we saw that recently, where while he was injured, the difference between having him and not having him in the team was massive. It's like night and day. So he's crucial. I mean, for me though, if it's down to a 2018 Player of the Year, it just has to be Ciro Immobile. I mean, there's absolutely no doubt about it. Given the goals he scored more than anyone else in Italy last season, and yeah, I think that he would have every right to be a little bit upset about that. But
he doesn't have Liverpool fans.
He doesn't. Not yeah. He does have Lazio fans though. So. Yeah, it was a bit of a strange one, but that's, I suppose, the risk you run if you let these awards be decided by online boards. There you go.
Yeah, I agree. Alistair, shall we wrap it up here?
So, yeah.
You don't have any stats to talk about? Well, you said the one of Pedro Neto.
Yeah, that was a nice stat. I used it too early, but there you go. That was it. And I actually forgot who the other guys were, so it wasn't the best performance. I'm still getting back from my winter break as well. You have to remember, I'm easing myself back in here.
Yeah, he's not in good company, I would say, except Keita. Or the others didn't do pretty much nothing. So let's hope he performs better. He has a better career than the others.
Yeah, I hope so.
Well, I think we can wrap it up here. And guys, we're going to talk next Sunday, I think. So again, if you want to follow us, we are on Twitter, on Facebook, and you can subscribe to our podcast on iTunes and on the Spreaker page. And if you want to support us, we are on Patreon, patreon.com/Lazio Lounge. Thank you very much, Alistair, and thanks everybody for listening. And we're going to talk next week. Bye.